Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, we're going to review something called Life Lessons from the Bank. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you go to every single downtown, banks have the largest buildings there, right? You go to every single downtown United States, they have the largest buildings. And I don't think there's an accident. I think there's a lot of principles that we can observe um, when looking at an institution of banking and think, oh, I could apply that in my own life, right? And they probably don't even teach their own employees this, right? So one of the things that I learned, I think it was from a business credit coach. It was a long time ago, and she said that bank fraud is very, very common. Like so many people try to rip off the banks, and the banks have to put all of these safeguards just to make sure that you're actually real, right? So she was like, one of the things that she talked about was like business credit, and most of what is preventing you from getting business credit is just very simple things like, are you a real business? What is your address? Does your address match what's in your, business credit profile? And then if you are an actual legitimate business, I think she said, and, I might be wrong about this, that's like 85% of the work just being legitimate. And what happens is that so many people try to defraud the banks with businesses that pretty much don't exist, right? like, and so I thought it was really interesting how that's pretty much the bank. One of the bank's main concern is just dealing with people who just try to rip them off. And I know people say, well, like in a Robin Hood esque attitude, well, they deserve to be ripped off. But I'm not going to make any moral judgments about banks. I opened up a uh, checking account with Wells Fargo for the $325 bonus, but I know that they're well known for creating fake accounts because of sales pressures goals back in the day, a couple years ago. So I'm going to keep out an eye out. But what I'm going to say is that there's several things that we can learn from that in order to not get ripped off. And so the lesson of the day is small transactions first, large transactions later, right? And you can observe this. You ever notice when you go online and you try to connect your external bank account to your current bank account, and they want to verify, is this really you? And then they're just doing a small transaction of like a penny or maybe like 20 cents, and then they say, come back a couple of days later and tell me like how much was in your new bank account that we deposited. That's because they don't want to get ripped off even at that stage of just you verifying your account. Now, I know there are other ways of verifying your account, like Plaid. We're not going to talk about that right now, right? But the way that they usually don't get ripped off, like one of the ways that they don't get ripped off is small transactions first. They do small transactions first, and then large transactions later. So if you're just starting out in life and trying to get credit, and you don't have any history of payments or credit, what do they give you? They usually give you a $500 credit card, right? Here, you get like a $500 credit card. And I remember when I got my first $500 credit card, I was so excited. And I was like, that is so much money to me. And then when somebody gave me some bank gave me a $5,000 credit card, I was like, that is so much money. This is insane. I can't believe it, right? Because I didn't know what I didn't know. And now that I know what I know, I have over $279,000 of credit, and I'll probably be like $500,000 in a couple months. I don't know for sure, but how did I get there? Is because I just did small transactions first, and then you build up a history, and then the banks see that through their automated systems, and they give you more credit, right? And so what happens with a lot of times is that regular people get ripped off a lot because they don't understand this principle, right? I mean, if we take a look at the story here, and I'm not going to play because I don't like to play videos on this YouTube channel, just in case I get copyright stricken. But if you ever look at this video, basically what happened is, a lot of these people got hustled or fleeced because you got a big time, what do you call it? I guess the hustler is the best word, speaking in front of an audience about how you can make big gains, and he was talking about like $100,000 easy in real estate investing in like 12 months, which I honestly I think that's really hard because you can make that, but you have to do a lot of marketing and negotiating, and have the capital and tools to be able to do that. It's not like anybody could do that from day one, and because people get all excited, then now they're just shelling out 10, 20 grand. I think these people who got ripped off invested like 10, $20,000, and they were promised 20% return in like 2 months. That's crazy, right? So how do we prevent ourselves from not getting ripped off? Well, we always make sure that if we're dealing with somebody completely new, right? Completely new, and this includes me. Don't ever trust me. Like, I'm going to be the first one to tell you that. I'm going to tell you that you're not going to succeed with me. Don't trust me. Don't do it. Um, Although, if you watch these YouTube videos, you do actually make me money because I make about $500 a month just on watch time, YouTube ad revenue alone. But what I'm saying is that if we're going to work together, and this is whether it's you provide me a service or vice versa, I'm going to make sure that I just do what I would consider a small transaction, right? So right now, nowadays, $100 is a small transaction for me. So let's say I offer use the services of a third party vendor, and they say $100, I'm gonna pay it, right? Because like it's almost like a bet, right? I'm betting this person is gonna do their job, but I'm willing to bet $100. If I were in their shoes, because they're quite devastated, right? They're not to them whatever they put into the deal is a lot of money, and they're doing the opposite of what the banks are doing, which is large transactions first. No, no, no. If we're going to be very conservative with our money as a matter of good principle, we're going to do small transactions first, build up a history. I mean, banks have it automated where they have the huge credit databases to track that payment history, right? And then we do large transactions later. Like when I was starting out in life, there was no way a bank was going to give me even a $50,000 of credit. Okay, I could get 500,000 probably easy nowadays because I did small transactions first with them. I kept asking for credit line increases. I kept using the credit. I never missed a payment. And then now they're willing to do large transactions with me. Right? Now, sometimes the people I interact with, they really surprise me. So there is this um, I know this guy who's a millionaire, right? And I actually like called him a couple of days ago and say, "Hey, like, do you want to invest in a multifamily syndication?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, well, is there a limit of how much you want to invest?" It's like, "No, no, there's no limit, but I just want to make sure that my money isn't the only money going into the project, because if it is, then it's not going to be used wisely." So some people, they're a little bit more bolder and riskier than I am, because if I've and I barely know the guy. That's the crazy thing. I barely know the guy. But when I met him, he showed me his cell phone and was like, "Hey, $1 million in my checking account." And I was like, I have no idea how to serve this guy, right? But at least I have like a money lender, millions of dollars available to me whenever I do need it. Um, but back to my point again. So if we don't want to get fleeced out of money that we actually need, remember, small transactions first and then large transactions later. And if you can't do $100 job, why in the world would I give you a $10,000 job, right? Easiest way to not get ripped off, right? And you only invest what you're willing to lose. So if I do hire someone to do a job and they can't do $100 job, that essentially was me gambling with my money. Yeah, and I always consider anytime I do an initial transaction with anybody to be essentially a gamble, right? So I'm gonna bet $100 this person will do their job, and if they don't do their job, okay, money lost, look for someone else to work with, right? But all these people are basically heartbroken because they put their entire trust in that person, both emotional and financial. And now you could just tell they all look kind of depressed because they really believe the big time talking hustler, right? You know, happens a lot, unfortunately, in this society, especially when it comes to real estate investing, of people just getting bamboozled because they're not following the principle of small transactions first, large transactions later, right? Now, sometimes people break that, rule with me. And hey, if a bank that I've never done business with wants to give me $100,000 line of credit, I'm not going to say no. But I'm just saying in general, if you have no credit and you want to build that relationship with the bank isn't going to give you a $100,000 line without that history, right? Unless you have significant assets to back it up or you put those assets in the bank like immediately. That's the cheat code, be rich, right? But I'm assuming you're not rich right now. I'm assuming you're not rich. And if you are, kudos to you. I don't even know why you're listening to me. All right. Well, that's it for today. Life lessons from the bank. Again, banks have the tallest buildings in every downtown in America. There's so much that we can learn from them just by observing. I don't think even the bank employees know this because somehow the bank is people proof, if that makes sense. Like they don't have to tell their employees how their products work, yet they're still making a ton of money, and they don't have an actual product like an iPad or an iPhone. All right, well, that's it for today. Have a great day, and we'll speak next time.